Hey, Heavy, what you got?
Nah, but
Hey, we
one
got.
thing, one thing you'll hear with Faze, I'll tell you this about Faze. If he doesn't know, he'll tell you
I'm
he
just
doesn't
tell you
know.
I don't know. And also you making a mistake. Like you judging every New Wapian like we don't got our own brain. Nigga, you can't do that. It make you look silly. I'm not Lifewave. He not me. He got his own expertise. I have mine. You feel
So
what
when
I'm
I
saying?
just asked you a question about your people and your family that you admitted, we can't have a conversation about that. You just skip and go straight to Dr. York and all of that. We need to stop and have a conversation about the
All
Blackfoot
right,
in
let's
your
do it.
family.
Let's do it now.
Okay, so if you got Blackfoot in your family and the same stuff like you respect Dr. York and that, it's not the same energy about the Blackfoot. If we ask you the same questions and date times and periods and certain people and individuals and predecessors like Dr. York, you can't name that for your Blackfoot tribe, and that's a direct. That's not up for discussion. That's not someone that a third, fourth party told you that you learned on your own. No, these are direct in blood mouth to pardon me from word of mouth from family members. They know they not about to lie to their kids like this Christianity or Islam or New Wapi. These are your people. This is where they come from. If they was from Africa, they would have said I was from Africa, or they would have said I converted to Blackfoot. You didn't get that when they told you. They told you exactly who you was. They didn't say I was from Africa and I was Muslim or I spoke Nuwapic or any of this nonsense. And these people still living in y'all families and y'all bypass it and still go to church, be Muslim, Mason, Nuwapic, and the list goes on. And when we
The
ask
list
y'all
does
these
not go on.
questions, hold on, when we ask y'all these questions, because y'all are supposed to be men of truth, y'all answer it. Y'all say, yes, I have this and that in my family, but it's not the topic of discussion. You feel me? So go on, brother.
Well, I don't know, bro. I didn't know that you dictated what the hell we talk about. That's another thing. Y'all want us to only know what y'all know. We know a lot of things about a lot of things. That's how we would talk. So if you want to talk about my family, you say, yo, I want to talk about your family. This was a thing where it's like, I can only talk about what you think is important because your life centers around it. Can I be 100% honest with you as my own brain? I got my own. I don't give a fuck about none of that Native American shit. That ain't my
There's the
focus.
truth, y'all. That's
Hold on.
all I wanted.
Wait. Yeah,
Say no more. We
when you
don't
talking,
on.
to me,
We don't
you can
gotta
get
go
what you
on.
want. You're gonna learn that.
We
I
don't
am a
gotta go
Wari,
on.
phase one.
We don't gotta
I'm not
go on.
everybody.
You don't care about your
No,
ancestors, period. You
no,
just
I didn't
said you
say.
don't give a fuck
No, I
about
didn't
them,
say I didn't care about my
period.
ancestors. I don't care about none of that
Culture
Native
and
American shit.
Blackfoot is a
I'm on a
part of
whole
your
listen.
ancestors, and you
I'm on
just
a
said
whole
fuck
mission
them.
right now,
You
bro.
just
Like I
said fuck
told
them.
you.
That's all I just. We
Okay,
don't.
Okay,
what do I,
okay,
look,
You
wait, wait. Hey,
what do we
disrespecting
do
your
now?
ancestors, and I don't want to do that.
Look.
What
Y'all
do we do
both,
now?
y'all
That's
look.
you to do it with
Y'all
me.
both got a
I,
point. Hey, hold up. Y'all both got a point. Like, is this? Y'all both have a point. Um, Faze ain't gotta care about Faze care about what he care about. Alma, you care what you care about. The point of these conversations is for people to respect our bloodlines when we say it, because when we say that we American Indian, we get pushback. You know what I'm saying? Like when it comes to education and world history, America don't get talked about, and we the big dogs, right? America don't. We're not getting taught how great America is. That America gave civilization to the entire world. We're not. We're not in these schools. They're not teaching us that America has the most pyramids and the oldest pyramids. They're not teaching. They're not teaching this, right? So the point is that these conversations is for us to be respected of our bloodline because we are who we are, right? We're not claiming to be nothing else outside of our bloodline. So the point is this: when people say they're Nigerian, when Africans say they Ghanaian and stuff like that, they automatically respect it, but we not. American Indians we're not respected because we look down. American Indian, what you mean? What? Because see, we don't have the right to claim who we are. We don't have the right to be who our ancestors is. Because guess what? Everybody, all these foreigners scared because once we realize who we are and that we was always here, they gotta go. You can't keep land that don't belong to you, right? And
right,
that's the whole point. Because if it was taken fraudulently, then that means it could be taken back correctly. So, and that's
yep,
the point of this. And things ain't gotta, respect it. You ain't gotta if you don't care about it, that's cool. But the point is that um all of us we can't continue to keep talking about we all come from Africa and we are living proof up here that I'm not African. I'm not black. I'm not African. I'm not no more either. I'm
Yeah,
not
me
none of these
either.
things.
Me either.
So
We
So
got
the
our
point is
family.
that
We
we're
know.
not being respected. I've had Africans come up here and be like, "What you mean you're not African? What the
Yep.
fuck you mean? What I just say?" The point is that it's to the point where you had this Pan African move and fuck our heads up to the point where we are suffering from an identity crisis. And now that we're learning who we are, it's not being respected. But you can be anything but indigenous to America because it's almost as if America ain't got no real people that was already here.
You know what I think it is? I think what y'all have is too tangible. And a lot of people, they want something that's like not tangible because it's like this. If I teach you, you came from the Neteru, right? Or you have Neteru that you can call on, or you come from the angels, or some people you come from the chosen ones. Whatever it is I teach you, if you don't have it already in you to do your due diligence to even understand what the fuck you can even do with that, what winds up happening is that becomes enough. That becomes enough for you to move through your life and say, we was guys, we was kings, we was this, we was that. And that's what a lot of these people, the Rashad Jamals, the 19 Keyses, the Umar Johnsons, the rest of the people are doing the same
They
exact thing. And
they all under houses though. They not repping what their family bloodline is. They under a foreign house and a foreign god.
okay, that's
And then when we
what I'm
ask
saying.
them
So then
why,
watch this.
okay, go ahead.
How many generations you got in your pocket? How many
Uh,
generations
uh,
you go back, fam?
a lot, but this ain't gonna be a
No, I
question
just wanted a
a
number. I
question
just
of
wanted a
air.
number.
I
I just
got
wanted a
blood
number.
records already put it up, so I ain't
I just
here.
want
This
a
not a
number.
proving game.
I just want to know.
We
No, I'm not
yeah, we
asking you
got
to
blood
prove
records,
nothing.
bro. We
Yo,
got
check this
blood
out.
records,
Hey, look,
brother.
I really respect you because you gang banging family. At least you
Exactly,
gang banging some shit that makes sense, right?
exactly.
So I'm asking you, how deep your gang
It
banging go? Like how far
goes
back?
far.
How many
Like I said,
generations can
that's
you
a
tie
whole
back?
nother bill.
No, it's
That's a
not
whole nother
a
bill. You
bill.
might
It's a
have to break
number.
the
I
bill
promise
for
I'll
that.
move on. Just give me a number and I'll move on. I'm asking, how many generations back can you account for?
I just said we gonna move on, bro. That's not the bill.
Damn, what do you think I'm the FBI? Like,
Nah, that's
listen,
just
you ain't in
not
trouble.
the bill, bro. Like that's not how these things go. When we have
A
a
number?
conversation, we
Do you
stick
okay?
to the
To the
topic.
brother
We
who
stick
what's your name,
I
brother
think
to
who
the
lied on?
topic.
it's not a.
Is it
Yeah,
Ethereal?
It's an easy question.
yeah.
Can I ask
Ethereal.
you
That's Admiral.
the
That's
same
hey.
question? Can I ask you?
Let
Okay.
heavy speak.
Man,
We ain't let heavy speak yet,
this
y'all.
shit about to get. We about to go somewhere else.
Uh, no, but I get what phase is going. Like I could trace one side of my family back to the 1680s. I could trace another side of my family back to around 1551. You know, I could trace another side of my family back only to around the 1700s. But there's a few more lines I don't know too much
That's why I
about.
didn't give an answer.
No, the
I'd have
fuck
to
is
sit
not.
back and go.
That was an
Yeah,
easy.
I'd
yeah.
have to go back.
He
Bro,
gave you the
if I
way.
show you my blood, if I said I had
Now,
blood
if I go in the
records in they
house,
different
I'm
time
gonna go.
periods,
Hey,
bro,
hey,
what are you
Admiral.
talking about?
That's all I asked.
Said I got
Um,
blood. Don't you want me to go get all my blood records up and then we have a conversation about every time period? That's not the
I
bill.
gave you a word that would have helped you say
Come
all
on,
that
bro.
math, and it
That's
was
not the bill.
generation. Generation. It don't matter how many bloodlines you could pull up. Each of them
Bro,
belong to a
it don't
generation. Do you
matter if it
understand
was
that?
the
hey,
18, 17. I got them from the
y'all. We
18,
ain't gonna. Hey, Admiral,
1700s,
Admiral,
the
Admiral, Admiral,
1500s.
Admiral,
That's not the
Now
bill.
you remember.
But
Admiral. We ain't gonna be too fiery because what I would say, Phase came totally different than the rest of them. That's under Dr. York teachings. Which is what I appreciate because he actually talking sense. They they be they ain't do what he doing. So we ain't gotta be fiery with him. He actually doing a very good job of representing what he's under, and that's cool. Like that's all it's really about. You
He
represent what you.
Blackfoot. He Blackfoot.
Yo,
Said it.
so
No, I'm
let me
saying
say
if you
something.
you know,
Let me say something real quick.
That nigga
I'm
black-footed. He admitted it. It's on record.
okay.
It's nothing else. You
So
could go back to
check
the
this out, check
spell
this out,
right now.
check
Go
this out.
ahead. Fall asleep.
On the
Wow.
bottom of my feet is beige and a motherfucker. So you can say Blackfoot all you want to. I just told you.
And here we go with this. Here we
Listen, I
go with
love
this,
my,
y'all. Y'all saw that?
I
Just
love
because
my
that boy ain't
grandmama.
got no dirt
Listen,
on his
check this
feet,
out.
But
If you can
he ain't a
manage it,
Blackfoot.
here's
You
if
gotta
you
go
can
put
hear
some
me, if
dirt
you can
on
hear
your
me, bro,
feet.
like,
You
cause look,
gotta go
in my
dance
eyes,
out there in the dirt like your ancestors did with no
no,
socks.
check this out.
but no, here's
I got a real question for you though. Since we gonna do it, cause I didn't listen. I'm different. You asked me what I am, what's my nationality. I'm gonna tell you alive, and that's gonna only be for a certain amount of time. If you didn't know, that's a surprise to you. I'm only gonna be alive for a certain amount of
No,
time.
I
So
know you were
I'll
y'all
be able to
agents.
do
I
it.
know y'all
Listen,
tactics. That's why I asked the questions I asked, so I could get you to come out and admit. This is an admit truth game.
Oh, you didn't have to get me to admit. You could have just asked me.
Oh no, I did ask you.
And I told you.
Earlier in the chat, I say I ask questions to break spells. You could go to sleep now. Go ahead. Bow.
So I don't know who he was saying could go to sleep. I wouldn't tell anybody to do that. That's not what right now is taught us. We were telling people to wake up.
We
You know what I'm saying?
we not asleep. We know who we
Hey,
are.
but
It's not up for discussion.
Look though. For everybody, check this out, because I think a lot of nations and families could learn from the American Indians. I've observed y'all on many different platforms, and I've always agreed with you. And I think if you just try to group me in with people, listen, it don't matter if it's Nubian, whatever way of life people claim, they're still people at the end of the day. You cannot group me in with people. That's not even how I was raised. Now, we'll do things together as a family. Still, we have to watch people that's around us. We still don't know what everybody's brain is doing or what everybody wants this information for. Some people want to build with it. Some people want to look tall with it. It's different people, family. So you meet somebody new, except you're making a mistake that right knowledge would have taught you not to do. You cannot judge a book by its cover. And you have to open it and read it. So I want to ask questions to those of you who have gotten to that degree of being able to make direct attachments to your family, your bloodline, that you can say, this is my family. I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Right. And to Faise's point,
brother, is it Admiral? I got a question for you, Admiral.
Hey, Faise One, you ask them right after Heavy.
Okay,
yeah,
I want to give everybody.
I just wanted to say, and Ethereal, I always tell you guys, whenever you're meeting somebody, you're not just meeting them, you're meeting their culture. It's not good to superimpose onto people who they are. It's better to let them tell you who they are, and accept that. Like I never try to tell a person you're American Indian. I never try to tell a person you're Nuwapian or you're African or you're Moor. I feel like you should allow a person to tell you who they are. You know what I mean? Now you can see something in them. That's good. You can speak certain affirmations to them, but there's a way even to go about that. Antagonism doesn't yield the best fruit. You know what I'm saying? It's a harder pill to swallow. So when you meet these people, it's just best to take them for who they say they are at first. You know what I'm saying? Witness their culture, see how they speak, see how they respond, see how they yield the floor or whatever the case may be, and just kind of go from there. I think that the lives will hold. You'll be able to get more information across that way, because you'll get hung up on arguing a person down over little simple semantics or words or things, but we all know exactly what they're meaning. We just want them to get to the meaning or get to the point of whatever they're trying to speak. So I think that just keeping the space in a particular way, like Ethereal is trying to do, like just allowing people to speak on these different cultures, because he's expressing his culture and he's sharing a knowledge that he's gathered. And the thing about that is, when you meet these people that come across on the apps, they have information that they've gathered too. So it's best to have a knowledge exchange and not a knowledge bang. You know what I mean? We got it. Because we brothers, and we can do it better. We don't have to do it the way that they're expecting us to do it. We can build at a high frequency. That's the best place, and trust me, it'll yield the best results. And the people will be entertained because they're getting the knowledge that they need.
Well, when the person asks you a direct question that you can't deny, you can't get in your feelings about it. If I ask you a question, if I ask these brothers, because I ain't tell nobody what they were, I asked him. So let's make that correction. And then he said his family was Blackfoot. So you only could be who you are. It's not no disrespect. This ain't that nobody's going out of their way to disrespect anybody. Like that's the whole point. But it is what it is. You could get mad. You don't have to accept. You can continue on. You can keep it in the back of your head. But we all know the truth.
Well, okay, that's interesting. You should have studied right knowledge, right? It could have helped you, because just because I say I'm Blackfoot, now you know the truth.
No, I didn't say, bro. I asked you a question.
So I could have lied.
If I assumed, if I told you what you was, then you can have this conversation. It's the reason why I asked you. I only can know what you tell me. I'm not gonna.
You don't know. You just know that I told you. You don't know if it's true.
Hey man, if you're not an honorable, truthful person, you got to deal with yourself.
You don't know that either.
We don't have to hide our culture and do
enough.
all these tactics. We know who we are. We proud.
Okay, I'm proud for you. That's why I wanted to ask you questions.
And us being proud, like my brother said, we the only people that take a lot for us being proud of our culture. When y'all say
Oh,
y'all with y'all
no,
don't
no,
see
No,
us
but wait,
down
Pastor.
but
here bashing
hold up,
y'all.
Admiral,
We don't
I
bash.
think no, I
Nah,
get where you coming. Faze, I think this basically what Admiral's saying. He's saying that you basically give more credence or um more gratitude to Dr. York teachings than your own ancestral oral stories or what you actually are bloodline wise.
so
I
then
think
I
that's
can
Admiral
respect that.
issue.
Yeah, I
That's
can
that's
respect
ba-
that.
He's
That's
saying
some
that
stuff.
because
Okay.
if you Blackfoot, that means you have indigenous in your blood, which means that matters more than any teaching that you get from a teacher.
No, okay. So then, is my mic on? That's your opinion. Like, and I respect your opinion. Does that make sense? Like, I don't have to give a damn about any of that. I love my grandmama. I don't love the fact that she was Blackfoot. I love my grandmama. I love my great grandmama. I love my Umi. I love my dad. I love the people that we talking about and the works that they've done. I could decide today that I'm gonna become one of the conquistadors in this day and time, or I could decide today that I'm gonna be one of the people who actually build a new world for all of the tribes that are thriving in this land. It's based off of who I am and what I am right now. So I was saying to you, I don't have any problem with you, and don't make the mistake of thinking that y'all are the only ones who get handled a certain way because of your culture or because of what you're tied to or because of your way of life. You're not the only ones. If I walk out in the streets and just say, hey, y'all, they say, y'all says, y'all, I said, yo, Malachi York, I'm gonna get stoned. So just walking around talking about someone who taught me all of the things that I was able to go out and find out more information about, just talking about him done got me ostracized from the conscious community. Just saying his name done made niggas like, why are you upset that I'm talking about Dr. York? Listen, my grandmama is none of your business. My great grandmama, whether or not they Blackfoot, that's actually none of your damn business.
See,
However,
I
you can
said,
go and look
yo,
up Dr.
we
Malachi
supposed to
York,
be
see all
dealing
his
with
teachings.
respect,
He
bro.
made everything that he did in his life public. So I'm going to
Crazy.
speak about it so that people can go and access those public works. Now, my Omi, my grandmama, my whole family bloodline is none of your business. So if I am out here speaking about Dr. Malachi York and how he done taught Christians, Muslims, Hindus, right, atheists, esoteric knowledge seekers, Buddhists, all the rest of these people, the sciences of their own religions and ways of life, and then went in and got accepted and respected by Washita, by your massive Native Americans, by the Creek Nation, okay, then I can put that information out there. Somebody gonna be able to grab that and it has something to
But
do
y'all
with them.
don't. Y'all don't put that he was a convert, that he converted to our tribes. Y'all tell people that they are Nuwapic when he
Well,
was a
wait a minute, let me ask you a
convert.
question.
He converted to
How
a
would you,
lot of, and that wasn't the only, he converted to a lot of different other religions and everything else. He
so
was a
American
convert.
Indian is a religion?
No, I said tribes, religions, masonry. Come on, brother.
Oh,
Don't try to
okay. So
tangle
then
up
Hey
my
watch
y'all,
this.
words.
look,
Let me ask you,
hey,
let
wait,
me ask you,
somebody
yeah.
sent the question. Oh, go. We gonna answer this question after y'all done with that
Yeah, I
topic.
was
Go
about
ahead, finish,
to
Admiral.
ask, how would the Admiral person, how would you know that Dr. Malachi York converted to your master Native American? How do you know?
I
Do you
mean,
know his ancestry?
you could go read what he said about the Yamasee and the Washita and that Turner and Tunica.
Oh,
I'm not
so
here to
based off
tell
what you're telling me right now, you don't
people
know.
could go on
'Cause-
YouTube.
yeah.
People could go on YouTube right now and you could go listen to the speech.
Uh,
I'm not about to none of that.
yeah, I
People
understand.
can go,
Mhm.
people direct source, y'all could go Google that, and I mean YouTube that here, and then they can see the Yamastar, the Washita,
Oh,
Nat Turner, Tunica, the
yeah.
connection, and all of that. He'll tell you all of
Okay,
that.
that's not how you pronounce it. But look, when I used to be like you when I
Oh
was younger,
Lord, man,
right?
here we
Like when I was
go,
like
man.
7 years old, I used to tell people go check it out your damn self when I didn't know the answer. I asked you about his ancestry, and I'm
I
asking
told
if you
you
could provide
he's from
information on his.
Sudan. You already asked me that. He's African.
Yeah, okay, is that all?
Okay, so what? And then I told you that he converted to a Mason, Christian, Muslim,
You don't
Hebrew,
convert to a Mason.
Israelite. He converted to
I'm
Yamasee,
sorry to all the
Washita,
brothers
Moor
that are in here.
tribes. Come
on
on.
y'all behalf, on our
We
behalf,
went
I
through
apologize.
all
I didn't know he
levels.
was gonna say no shit
Come
like that.
on,
You don't convert to
bro.
a Mason. What are you talking about?
What?
How do you
You don't,
convert to a Mason? From
bro.
what?
Oh Lord. Here we go,
Now I'm
man.
asking you real
Here we go.
questions
Find
though,
the
because you're
lane,
saying real
bro.
things.
A
Hey,
So
Heavy,
convert is
what you?
I'm
somebody
just
that go
All
from
right,
what they
hey,
stuff is to
y'all,
a
we
other word.
gonna that look. I get okay. Look, this
Find the
um
lane.
um.
Use verbiage.
All right, Heavy, can you hear me? He said unpin comments. So Heavy, say something.
Is he
Heavy,
in the
drop and come
matrix?
back if you can't speak.
oh, you got to unpin the comment so he can come off mute. Is what he's saying. He probably can't access the button. Fam.
Okay. Okay, so the girl
Okay,
said,
there you go.
how
Now,
can how can
now
you
put it
call
back.
yourself American if the ancient name of the continent ain't America? Okay,
Well,
I'm
See,
finna
we
that
unpin
can't.
it.
doesn't.
We not doing that. If she didn't study, we not going to
You
educate her. She got to
don't
go
know if
through
she
her
didn't
own
study. And then
education.
how about this?
But
She got to
that's an
You're
get
not
easy
the
her
only
question to
person
answer, though.
education.
on
We're not
the
about to have a
platform.
class on
But that's
all
not a
that
hard
and
question
argue
to
about
answer.
America over
Yeah, it
species.
ain't.
We're
Hey,
not
hey,
doing
Amber, it's
that.
cool. It's fine. It's fine. The point. So, um, well, America is named after ancient people. So we just gonna leave it there. So
But yeah, for me, my people call the land Yakni. We called it Yakni. Yakni Lusa is the name of like Earth. It's considered the dark world. So that's what we called it. We never called it America or Turtle Island or any of that other
yeah,
stuff. But yeah,
yeah.
that's my
But
people.
see, but Heavy, but that's why I say like everybody, the people that is indigenous to this land, everybody is a source. So because everybody gonna look at it a different way. Meaning this, just like in Africa, everybody don't call Africa Africa. They had different names for it. From if you go to different tribes, they gonna say they got different names for it. So the point ain't necessarily. I think that what people try to look for is that the indigenous people of America all agreeing on the same thing. Like we all ain't gonna agree what the name of the continent was because you had people from different languages and different cultures looking at it a different way. You know what I'm saying? Same way that they do with religion. You got Catholics, Protestants, Puritans, all stuff like that. So it's not necessarily about everybody agreeing on the same thing because and that's the problem is that we think that everybody got to be the same and it's not. You got to respect the differences of people because that's the only how you can move forward. Because if we not respecting that people are different, we trying to make everything the same because that's the same psychology they use with this Africa theory. You know what I'm saying? They just can't. I think it's just some people that just can't believe that everybody did not come from Africa because they think everything must be the same. So they're looking for all American Indians to say the same exact things, and it's like that's bias. It's just bias. We're all not going to agree on the same things because on different lands you have different cultures depending on what grew around you, what type of trees, the type of like and shit. If you in the north, it's colder than the south, so your culture may be centered around a little more different things, even when it comes to food. So,
But okay,
um,
so Ethereal, are you trying to let people know that they are American Indian, or are you just listening to their story, and having a cultural exchange?
right. So me, I that's why I say like I don't tell people who they are. I don't generalize people. I tell them who I am, and my ancestry, but I allow people to tell me who they are. Like, you was on this live with us when that dude from Nigeria came up here and he told us his story.
Oh yeah.
We all listened. We said, cool. The moment we said we American Indian, what? You're
Mm-hmm.
African, brother. What?
Mm-hmm. They erase our whole. They had erased a whole tribe of people, cultures, practice, language, everything as if it didn't exist. And then when we ask them, well, what happened to the people, the culture that was already there? It's like their brain just discombobulate. Like the dude said, all of the people just accepted African history and they just all became African. How? They just stopped. They just stopped their tradition that they were doing.
Yeah,
So
it's not that
Phase.
hard. Like when you think, yeah, go. I'm listening.
Yeah, I was gonna
So
say. So does Malachi Z. York teach that all copper colored or nine ether? I don't know the correct word that they use in the in the system.
But do they teach that all black people or whatever come from Africa or Egypt? Is that the teachings?
So, so here's what it is. Pops taught, and I call him Pops because it's just like that. Pops taught different people different things at different times. He was talking to certain people. He said, we were already here. You go look that up. We were already here, as in America. He was talking to who he's talking to. Then at one point in time, it was the Pan-Africanist movement, along with a lot of the other brothers who were teaching, saying that there were people who were from tribes in Africa, keyword tribes, right? He was able to present information on all of these things for himself. Now, how he became the being that he is taught to so many different bloodlines, you got to ask him that. However, what people did was they took him being tied to so many different bloodlines and started to apply that to themselves without doing the due diligence to see whether or not they were any of these things he was saying that we were. Here's what I know also. Growing up, we did things with tradition. We did things with culture. We did things that people were able to do over and over again to the point where it became a way of life. So we had Native Americans on Tom Murray. Literally all the different tribes were coming to Tom Murray. They would be there. We had Hindus on Tom Murray. We had some Caucasoids would come through on Tom Murray. We had people from all over the world, different religions. Everybody was there coming to Tom Murray, deciding that they were going to build something together. You understand? It didn't mean that you abandoned your way of dress. You'll walk and see somebody with a dashiki on. You'll see somebody with a jalabia. You'll see somebody with a thobe on. You'll see somebody with a robe on. You'll see somebody with a suit and tie on. You know what I mean? When Jesse Jackson, the rest of them came through, you'll see the NOI there. Everybody was deciding that they were going to build something. So my point is, me, when I look at me in the mirror, I know that I'm a living being, right? I'm breathing in and out. That's my signature. That's the sign of my natural living being. I can decide to do whatever I want to do within my bounds in this lifetime. I do not have to adhere to anything my ancestors did to love them. I don't have to want to be like my ancestors to love them and respect them. I don't have to say because they were Blackfoot and dressed this way that I have to do the same thing. You want to know who would say that though? A Native American. Native Americans don't play about keeping their culture and their tradition. The culture of Nuwapu made sense to me because it encouraged you to be a scientist, to explore new things, go out and figure things out. You want to prostrate today, go prostrate to figure out what that is about. You want to go into church, go ahead, go figure out what that is about. You want to sit with the monks, go ahead, go figure what that is about. And then eventually you wind up being a well-rounded individual where now you really understand whether or not you want to choose one way to live or keep providing that same science for your children. And here's what I'm going to do. If and when I have children, I'm going to raise them the same way. And I want them to surpass me, to be scientists of all of these different things, study all these different lands, decide where you want to live, legally or lawfully, decide where you want to be, decide how you want to raise and do this, the language you're speaking, all of that. I want to raise them that way because you only get one opportunity to be a human being in this experience. You understand?
So they can't do that knowing that they can't do that knowing that they Blackfoot? Is that impossible?
They're not Blackfoot. When I have children,
is that impossible?
When I have children, listen, I'm giving you your answer.
All right.
What I feel for you is that two words can have so much meaning to you. To me, they mean nothing.
Here we go.
If
man.
I
ask you a simple question. I don't want that rhetoric.
If I say I'm Blackfoot,
I ask you if they was to know that they Blackfoot with that, they still can't be scientists.
Nothing. If my heart
can't
stops
learn
right now,
and be scientists if they was Blackfoot, that's what you saying?
I'm saying to you that if my heart stops right now, it didn't mean anything. The Blackfoot part didn't mean anything.
That's not the question.
That is right
I asked
there.
you if you tell your kids they Blackfoot, they still can't be a scientist?
My kids are not Blackfoot. First of all, they're not kids. Those are goats. My children are not Blackfoot. My children are.
Bro, here we go, man. Listen, I asked you a question.
Listen, I respect where you're coming from.
Do
you respect where I'm coming from?
You said that your people that predate you were Blackfoot. I didn't say that. So
Blackfoot
stop
in my
getting
family.
offensive. Like I told you, you
Sure,
was
I got Blackfoot
Blackfoot.
in my family.
Come on, bro.
Okay, so let me tell you something one more time for the record. Is this thing going?
It's
If I
crazy,
have
bro.
children,
It's
they're who they
crazy how
are.
you get offensive for
They're
who
who they,
you
I'm
are.
not offended. I'm okay. I'm sitting here sipping some honey. I'm cool. How are you feeling with the attachment of the reality that means so much to you? It don't mean a lot to me.
I
It means something
just
to
asked a simple
you.
question because you made it seem like your kids couldn't be a scientist or whoever you
Hey,
wanted
Faze.
them to be if they
Admiral,
if they
I got a
Nuwapian.
question. Hey,
You
Faze.
serious?
Yeah, I'm right here. I'm
I
chill.
look, I get where you coming from. I do. I get what you mean. Like your life is your own. You can choose to do with it. You know, you get one life and you got to make it count. I understand that, but one thing I will say, well, I disagree with you on is that I think it's very important that we keep the culture going as far as what our ancestors did, because everything that exists now is because of what our ancestors built and what they passed on. For instance, like you got food. Let's just take food for example. When we looking at culture, right? Culture, two major things will always be a part of culture, no matter wherever you go. Food and music. So when we looking at America and we looking at food, what's American food? Soul food, right? That's coming from us, which these are recipes that was passed down for generations. Now, if we had the mindset that, oh, I don't care about what my ancestors was, because that don't really, if they died, they ain't died because they Blackfoot, they died because they died. I get that point, but culture does matter because that's how you continue legacy, right? That's how we
So right,
continue to,
can I say
um,
something right here?
yeah, go ahead.
And I look again. I respect where y'all coming from. It might just be a different approach, but it might not be familiar how I'm coming. I don't think soul food is good to keep up. Listen, just hear me out, right?
I hear you. I hear you.
Our ancestors had people. I think what happened is when people were like pulled from Christianity and different religions and brought back into some of the knowing that y'all are accumulating, I think
Mhm.
certain things still lingered. Ancestors became like these angelic beings because people
Right.
still needed to replace the spiritual aspect of something because they were raised up on angels or God is watching you or Santa Claus and things like that. Not saying ancestors are not real. However, I think people say ancestors with the intention of expressing that these were all agreeable beings. And I think they should also be able to turn their attention to the fact that you had ancestors who were murderers, right? You had
Liars,
ancestors
cheaters.
who did things that if you understand. Listen, somebody talking about genetics earlier and heredity. I think that's what you would have been tying it to. There were things that your ancestors did that you're doing now that you're trying to stop doing. When people start talk about breaking generational curses, it could be something as simple as drinking alcohol, becoming an alcoholic. You're that because your great great grandmother was. And you may
Mhm.
not understand that a part of
Yeah.
her gene expression caused you to be led to those type of circumstances. My
Yeah.
point is this. I'm not saying that culture is not important. I'm not saying that tradition is important. I'm saying that if we the truth that says we have the right, the birthright to honor our mother and father, and we have the right to honor them in a way that people may not think is honoring, but we become a different version of our mother and father. Now, how many times have we done something as youth that the elders didn't approve of us doing? Somebody wanted to go to college to make something of themselves. The elders didn't want them to do that. The elders wanted them to stay and work on the farm. The man went to college. Now he owns farms. And his elders don't have to work them farms anymore. And then the elders can say, you know what, you did something that made sense. Elders pass us down soul food. We eating ham hocks, pork, turkey, all kinds of greens, collard cornbread, and fucking ourselves up
But wait,
genetically.
hold up.
You
Let me stop you right there, because hold up, because you see, this is the thing though. Soul food, the soul food of America, it really is for the soul, because we got to realize this. It didn't start tainting us until they start putting additives in and hormones and things like that. For instance, all soul food come directly from Earth, that is literally tied to nature. When you looking at greens, that's from Earth. Cabbage, that's from Earth, right? Even the way we killed animals, like the way they do it now is totally different. They're putting It's not the soul food that's the problem. It's what they're putting in it that's the problem. See, we gotta realize what they're doing. This game they're playing. They teaching us that our culture is actually doing us a disservice. Meanwhile, they stealing it on the back end. You got niggas talking about Japanese barbecue now. You got niggas putting raisins in potato salad. They telling you your Thanksgiving food is killing you. Meanwhile, they cooking every fucking thing that we created over here. One of them niggas deep frying, we was. That's American culture, right? When you looking at the way we cook, the way we roast, that shit, all that's American Indian shit. Ain't nothing about that shit deadly. Nothing. What's deadly is that we
So
allow foreigners to take control of the trade, which means that now they're putting shit in this food that's killing the soul. It's not the food that's bad, because all the food we ate in our cultures is literally coming from Earth itself. So, and you talking
But here's
to
the
a
problem
person
with
who
what.
connected to Mississippi, all that shit, and Mississippi got some of the most fertile soil on this planet. So, no, our soul food was coming
But
from Earth, and we all know that anything coming from Earth is natural. What's
but
unnatural
but
is putting hormones in our food.
but Ethereal, I get what you're saying, and also get what Faze is saying about the ancestral worship. But I will say you can't blame a person for putting something in your food. You put stuff in your food. No one makes a person shop at Walmart or
No,
shop at
no,
the
I agree with that.
grocery
I'm just
stores.
saying.
You
I know
know,
what you
so
mean.
so
I was
we
just saying just
yeah,
how
but
food is
yeah, but I say a
corrupted.
lot of people they put a lot of onus on other people and other people groups and the quote unquote Nahulo, the white man, and blame him for so much, but then still ask him for so much and have a dependency on him so much. So for me, I can't blame anybody for what I eat, but me, the person who's consuming it. You know, I can't say, well, they're putting stuff in the food. I don't have to eat their food. If I truly understand what sovereignty is, if I truly
It's your
understand what that
own
means,
farm.
you know, I would be doing my due diligence to take care of myself, you know. And the problem is, too many people are complaining about people doing things to them that they should be in control of themselves while seeking validation by trying to get paperwork to say that they're sovereign, or to get paperwork to say that they're native, or to get
mhm.
paperwork to say that they're more, and all of these things. You're still seeking validation of someone else.
Yep.
True
Mm-hmm.
sovereignty does not exist by you having to seek validation of identity through someone else.
Damn.
And I want to
Y'all
stand
drop
there
some
with
flames in the chat.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I want to stand there with heavy on that. That's my whole holler now. I've been saying this since I was 15 years old, right? As I'm 26 now, people don't even believe that shit sometimes. I've been saying it for over 10 years that that's not what nationality is. No one can convince me of that. And I'm very well versed in sovereignty. And I've seen things that people say doesn't exist in person. And I know it's real. To be looking at a piece of paper that's worth $2 million. I know it's real. You understand? So I still say that's not sovereignty. A lot of this is just people working out how they're going to handle their affairs in the land. It's still business, busyness. You're still there. You're still living. You're still doing contracts of some sort. You're still working things out. You still have to eat. You still need food. You still need water. You still need shelter. You're still a living being. It's almost as if you're denying yourself the right of sovereignty when you have to claim it through someone else. Now,
Mm-hmm.
then you have to say, what will sovereignty be then? Look at the word itself and go to the etymology and see if it don't bring you to surpassing others, doing what most people won't do, taking the path that's least traveled. But before we go into all of that, I want to address what you were saying, brother Ethereal,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's everybody has the right to eat however they want to eat. When I say the food fucking us up, I'm talking about who is fucking up. You know, some people are allergic to shit. I know you know that. Some
No,
people
yeah,
are
yeah,
allergic to
yeah,
things.
yeah.
Some people
I
have
just,
eating.
I just, I just know that it's what we. It's like we gotta realize that when foreigners came over here, mainly, and this is why people
Hold on, hold
need to
on,
know
hold
all
on.
melanated
There's one
people,
thing I
not
wanted to
this.
point out before we get
Oh,
lost,
my bad. Go
right?
ahead,
So
my
that's why
bad.
we're going through it, right? When you speak about eating, you're talking about habits, which affect the habitat.
Mm-hmm.
I want to point your attention to something, not to be funny now. I want to point your attention to something that you said. I don't agree with it, but you said it, and I respect it. You said even how we killed the animals, they killed them different. They, now I got a question. Didn't they still die when we killed the animals? Listen to the wording. Like we might have killed them differently, but we still took their life. And I don't see anywhere where it would be necessary to kill deer, to kill the bison. I don't see that it's necessary. I see that some of our ancestors, a lot of our ancestors did that. They hunted. They went out and
Mm-hmm.
killed. They shot him with an arrow. Then they rubbed their back like it was making it better. I killed you for a good reason. No, he's dead. And he had a family and he had emotions, and that shit still happened. You can whisper in his ear lullabies all you want to. He's still dying. And that energy is still transferred into the food that you're consuming of that dead body or that dead flesh. Now, listen, please don't think that because I ain't gonna be long-winded about this. I'm not trying to paint myself like I'm some righteous being who never ate meat.
Yeah.
I just stopped eating meat in January of this year. And it wasn't just because I wanted to stop, it's my body started to reject it. You understand? So it might just not be for everybody what I'm saying. And I'm not even saying that in a high and mighty way. Some people might need to eat meat. It might be something in their genes and say they got to do it for them to be able to unravel the genes. They need to unravel to be who they need to be. I didn't come here eating it. I didn't think it was for me. So let's say this. Let's say everybody in my bloodline ate meat and pork and different animals and the vegetables. Somebody said soul food is mostly vegetables. I saw it. Okay, cool. Let's say they ate all that shit. And then I'm born. And as I'm growing, I'm thinking that I'm leaning more toward fruits. And I don't want to eat meat. I've never been hunting in my life. I never wanted to kill an animal. It's just like that. I might be different. So that happens too. Now, can someone say you're not
Phase,
respecting
that's
your
cool.
You
That's
ancestors
cool.
want to eat
because
But
sushi
Phase,
now.
that's
You
a
just want to eat
wait. Hold
sushi
up, Admiral. Hold up. I
and
got you. You
top
go right,
ramen and shit
Admiral. You
now.
can go right. Admiral, you can go right after me. I ain't gonna be that long. So Phase, that's cool. Like that's a personal thing for you, and that's totally fine. Like that's what you personally do with your life. I never bash anybody for being vegan or not eating meat. I don't say that. But what I'm saying is this: when foreigners came over here, they did not bring culture with them. They assimilated into what was here. This is why American culture has never changed. The only thing that changed about it is what people believe in, as far as these institutions go. But when it comes to food and music, what's changed? Not a single thing. It's always been. When you're looking at blues, jazz, R&B, hip hop, that's all American shit. When you're looking at food, it's still American shit. My point is this: this same food that we eating right now kept our ancestors alive for hundreds. They lived long. So what's the problem now? We eating the same thing they was eating. So my point is that we
we're
gotta
not doing
kill
the
this
same
narrative,
things that they were doing.
huh?
You talking about we're eating the same thing they're eating, but we're not going out and lifting the rocks to be strong enough to hunt those things that they were eating. We're eating the same things that they were eating, but we're not as active as they were day in and day out.
Nah,
We
that's
don't
true too. That's
take in as
cool too. But that's fine.
You're
It's
buying
other
it from Purdue. You're buying it from Tyson. You're buying it
exactly,
from Hillshire Farm. You're
exactly.
buying it from all of these places, these factories. So your dependency is still up on. So it's
You're
not. You're
not doing
not.
the
Matter of
work
fact, you're not.
yourself.
You're
You're
not
not
eating the same animal that your ancestor ate. They ate an
exactly.
animal that they caught. They had an animal that they found. They're eating fruits and berries that they foraged. This is not the same.
It's
It's
Exactly.
not
And that's
the
my
seedless.
point.
same.
It's
That's my point.
seedless.
It's like we're putting a narrative on soul food like it came from an outside source. This is the thing. We got to be careful with this. They are the same shit they telling us is not good for us. You see them adopting every fucking day. Every day. These foreigners are adapting our culture and trying to claim it as theirs. And that's what they're trying to get because they want you to think your culture is non-existent and oh, it's bad, it's soulful. No, no. But they
Yep.
cooking the same exact things on Thanksgiving.
Korean
They're cooking the
barbecue
same
chicken.
shit, right?
Yeah,
So
and I'm one of those people who was like, I'm only looking at my paper. I don't give a damn if somebody's saying they got all the right answers. I don't care if somebody's saying that they don't know what they're doing. I'm looking at my paper, and my paper says whether it was soul food, berries, whatever it
they
is,
say Big
I
Bo
am
was
still a
eating.
living.
So they had
I'm
to
still a
amputate her
living.
legs, bro. Are you serious?
Listen, check this out. I'm still a living. You're still a living being. This is why I say I respect y'all because of your attachment to your direct ancestry. And your attachment materializes as keeping the culture that they kept, right? The way of life that they kept. Did y'all speak their language? You speak the language they spoke?
Mm-mm. He
I do.
Well,
Abby do.
well, okay. Well, then I would advise you to look into that because you might be able to activate something else. Do you
Oh yeah,
understand
for
that
sure. I agree.
the whole thing that Admiral was saying was like they're not getting respected, and you're saying they're not getting respected. Listen, if you're talking to me, I'm telling you, I respect where you're coming
Mm-hmm.
from. This happens all the time. So let's see if it's different this time. I respect fully where you're coming from, and there is no but. And then I'm telling you that I'm not disrespecting my ancestors by saying some pieces of what's quote unquote culture I don't have to care about. I don't have to take it on as my own. I have my own brain. They could have danced every Sunday on top of the roof. I don't feel like going up there. That's me. That's just me. That doesn't mean I disrespect. They pictures still up in my house.
Right. Yeah.
We still make
Yeah.
the altars for them. We still respect and call their name out. That's you understand. I love my ancestors. I am my ancestors. Except I'm not even my Umi and my Uba. I'm not even my mother and father. I am them, but they're their own people. I still have to become who and what. That's sovereignty. That's true sovereignty. Where I don't need to claim anything. In one of my songs, I say I'm a native. I'm all of that. Whatever helps me have a talk with somebody that's wrapped up in a reality that works for them. You want to have a native talk? Let's do it. You want to have a Moorish talk? Let's do it. You want to have, and that's what Nuwapu gave me. So if you're asking, let me bring that to the close. For the question earlier, speaking about me talking about Dr. Melakazi York and Nuwabians talking about Dr. Melakazi York, you can't blame them. Somebody put you on. It could have been your blood family. That could have been your blood father. Some people's blood father didn't put them on. Dr. Melakazi York was a lot of people's father spiritually, and he put them on to a culture that does work. I grew up in Nuwapu. Nuwapu as a culture works. And if you just really live it for what it actually is, instead of trying to shortcut it, which is why I grew up seeing a lot of people doing. Now I understand why they did that, because they didn't have the heart to go through with it all the way. When you live this scientific lifestyle, look at how it turned out. I would say, not asking y'all to say anything, I turned out all right. So I advise other people to look into the science of Nuwapu. It
But
can be
So
applied
let,
to Native
but
American
but
ancestry. It
Faze,
can be applied to any of your walks of life.
but see, this the thing. That's okay. Like this the thing. That's cool. Like that's I don't disagree with people saying look into Nuwapu, like the science. This is the problem. When people don't know who they are, whatever science they look into, they're gonna start claiming that as their nationality. And that's the problem. Because look, you can be American Indian and still read Nuwapic stuff. That's you got American Indian and all different types of people from different cultures that's religious and stuff. Like it's so you can read and take on whatever you want to. I don't That's not my issue with the thing. My issue is that American Indians are not being respected as us saying who we are. So we get pushed back saying that we got to be whatever people telling us that we are, as opposed to us. No, ask me who I am and I'll tell you.
That's what
And
I just
what it
went
is
through.
that we are.
If you were paying attention, that's what I just went through. And I'm not American Indian. And anybody with eyes will see that that's what was happening with the brother who was speaking to me earlier. Now I'm
He, he
composed
said,
and I'm
"I'd
used
rather
to
you
dealing
say
with that.
Egyptian Indian, if any." You see what I mean? Like this, what I'm
But
saying. Like you see,
See, that's
Egypt.
what
What the
I'm
hell
saying.
is it?
He
Egypt?
said
Hey, heavy.
Egyptian Indian.
Egyptian Indian. That's what I'm saying.
India,
See, phase,
yo,
phase, phase. I
India
you
want
was
you
could
to
have
called
someone
understand this,
who's an
phase,
Egyptian
Hindustan.
Indian. You could
phase.
have someone
India
who's
was
an Egyptian
called
Indian.
Hindustan. India ain't even Indian name.
Yeah, but
This
They
shit,
asked
look,
you what
you
phase.
gotta
See,
American
stop.
was earlier,
phase,
bro.
but
You
phase.
ain't got
Look,
This shit
this the
has to
problem.
stop, bro.
When
Y'all in the
people
chat, y'all going crazy, bro. He
look,
said Egyptian
go
Indian is wild.
when people go into these schools of thought without knowing who they are, they take it on. Why? This is why you see people switching from different sects of religion. Oh no, I'm Muslim. The next year you meet, oh no, I'm Christian. Oh, next year, oh, I'm Buddhist. When you, because you can still be these things without keep flip flopping your identity. Because none of these schools of thought is your identity. It's just a school for you to learn something
That's
that
what
you don't know.
Nuwapu teaches us.
No, I'm just
Nuwapu
saying.
teaches this ain't your identity. This is
Right.
a
But
school.
how many people do you see claiming Nuwapic as their identity or Christian as their identity? They saying, no, I'm a Hebrew Israelite. It's because they are in the school of Christianity. How you a Hebrew? You can say I
So
believe.
I got a challenge for you. I got a challenge for you. It's just for you, Ethereal, because I understand what's happening. What is a Nuwapian? What is Nuwapu?
Right, I know I know Dr. York said Nuwapic is a
No,
language, right?
yeah, that because you keep saying Nuwapik. You know what I'm saying? Like
But
that's like me saying you're in
but
Arabic.
so
No,
with
it's
the
not you're in Arabic. So yeah, I'm asking
Nuwapian is
what is a Nuwapian or what is Nuwapu?
so I know Nuwapu is a science, right?
Right? What is
It's
it?
it's basically a spiritual science. It's you connecting to the source through your culture. And they got their own rule, they got certain, statutes and codes like everybody. It's a culture. That's all it is. It's a culture, right? But
It's not all that it is. This is why I asked. The
right,
reason why
but
I asked that is because what you're saying is Nuwapu. You don't have to call it that. You understand that, right? But
nah,
what you're
it's
saying,
from your perspective, it's what you call a nuwap. That's what I'm
no, what
saying.
I'm
It's like
saying is what you're saying. Nuwapu is just everybody needed something, right? Sometimes people need religion. Sometimes people need a word like Nuwapu, right? That has all these different sciences that are involved in that science. Some people need American Indian. When you say you're American Indian, I haven't heard the tribe Etheria. What tribe are you from?
oh my I got multiple tribes. I also got Blackfoot too. Geechee, but that was called Gullah. I mean Geechee. My grandma was full. My grandma Lucy was full blood Geechee. Her people come from Florida. My people come from Mississippi, Louisiana. So yeah, I'm Geechee, Blackfoot, and I'm finding out other stuff too. I see me. I got far my ancestry. So my grandma Mary, she was born in Mound, Louisiana. So I got basically I'm first generation North, basically first generation Chicago. All outside of that, literally all my people from Mississippi, literally Mississippi, Louisiana. So Geechee, Blackfoot, and I know some other stuff in there too. Because again, I'm still so like I gotta when especially so when you doing your gen, it's so much like it doubles, it keep triple, so it's a lot of. But that's the beautiful part about it because it's your story. So I'm not studying nobody else's stuff. I'm studying my story that's unique to me, right? Because your bloodline is your story. So you can't go to Google for this. You know what I'm saying? Meaning like you got to go and study your own people, find their records, county stuff like that. Talk to the elders in your family. So that's why when we looking at this American Indian paradigm, it's not a unity thing yet.
That's why the
All
reason
this
why
is
I
a
asked you
personal,
that.
right? It's
The
a
reason why I
personal
asked you that.
journey. So
You see how
yeah.
long. See how long it'll take you there. Like imagine if you walk up to somebody and have to introduce yourself with that same thing you just said. That's why a lot of people just say American Indian and then call it a day. That's the same reason why a lot of people say Nuwapian and call it a day. It's the same reason why a lot of people say Muslim and call it a day. You say Muslim, you know how many sects of Islam there are? You know what I mean? You know how many sects of Christianity there are? You know how many different types of Hindus there are? And that's why I'm explaining that y'all are still dealing with titles. And it's nothing wrong with dealing with them. It's just I want you to at least acknowledge the fact you're not dealing with someone who I can only deal with a title. I'm dealing with the reality of I'm a living, breathing being. And so were my ancestors. The reality that we were taught was, what's the first reality? You exist. The next reality that's partnered with that is if you exist, your ancestors also exist or also existed. That's what I deal with first. Then I deal with what I'm going to do now that I'm here. And a part of my life is living it through what is being called Nuwapu. So I'm reflecting it onto you when you're saying, yo, it's not an identity. It's a school that you go through. You travel through that school. You're not supposed to take it on and like, this is me. That's how I feel about American Indian. That's how I feel
Right.
about what y'all are
And
saying.
that's why we say American Indian because American Indian is just a title explaining who are the original people on it in America. So when you go into tribes, like you got different mixes going on, you got different people migrating, especially with the wars. So with this is the thing too. The problem is this most of these a lot of these people don't know American history at all. So they don't know about migrations. They don't know about Indian removal acts. They don't know about blood on all these wars. The Pequot, all the Barber War. Like it's so many because they think that when you say or you think it's like nah, bro. I know who I am. It's just that what it is that it's when you breaking down, it's like when you breaking down your genealogy, even when you studying it, your ancestors are doubling, tripling. It's like the further you go, the longer it gets. So this is an actual study have to do because it's your story. See, most people see we lazy, so we'd rather read the Bible and study Jesus' story. Okay, you know Jesus, but do you know your grandparents? So people are replacing their bloodline with a story that don't belong to them. Because if you're not related to Jesus, why you even worried about it? So
To
that's
what you're
the
saying,
problem.
King,
Go ahead, Heavy.
I get what you're saying about knowing the ancestors, but ultimately the goal of all of this is a certain level of liberation of sovereignty, right? And that is not to hold a title. Um, my
Facts.
people, my people called people the people, Hatak. We didn't really have
Yep.
we didn't call ourselves Chata. Chata was an ancestor, you know. Really we just called ourselves the people, and this type of rhetoric and how we spoke was even followed in when they wrote your constitution, when they
Yep.
said we the people, you know. When you deal with what it means to be a people, a person, and just to be a being, you know, you understand real sovereignty, right? And that's the ability to make certain decisions for self and live a certain life of self that bears certain levels of responsibility, right? And many people aren't getting to exercise their they're acting out the responsibilities that they're given as a being. You know, the minute you, as a man, depend on another man to give you food, you are not acting sovereign. The minute you have to seek identity and call yourself a name based on what people deem to be legal or anything like that, you're not sovereign. The minute the minute you say that my whole existence is incumbent upon me doing exactly what everyone else did before me and upholding that, you're not being sovereign. True sovereignty is knowing the purpose of your existence and your being, and
Facts.
living out your responsibilities to the utmost. This is the optimal life. And a
And
person
wait, and
can
without
do that.
interference too.
Can I
Without
add
Yeah, and
to
a
that,
interference.
person can
Heavy,
do
though?
that.
I want to
A
add
person
to
can
what
do
Heavy's
that
saying.
without being called Native American, Indigenous American,
Hmm.
Nuwapian, Moor. You can do that without all of that. It's not necessary.
Yeah, I just
Do you know what it
wanted to
means?
ask these
Do you
brothers,
know
is
what
it
it means
something
to be
wrong with
a
what he's
human
saying?
being?
Is it something wrong with what Heavy's saying? Is it wrong to do that? Is that a sin?
So maybe you just like you probably should fuck with Heavy more. Cause that's what the hell I was saying.
Are you? You see what
Go
I'm
ahead.
saying,
Keep
bro?
cooking,
Look,
Heavy. Keep
this
cooking.
is
Keep
crazy,
Heavy. Keep
bro. Look,
cooking.
you gotta relax. You know what I mean? You gotta chill, bro. Facts is facts. You gotta start to deal with the facts. But I'm saying it's nothing wrong with learning who you are. People be acting like it's a sin or you can't do it. But when we look at what y'all do to other cultures, religion and stuff like that, and how much time and effort and faith and belief y'all put in it, and y'all go even to sacrificing blood sacrifices and rituals and go through all of this stuff and get no results and
Who?
never even take a time even
Mhm.
test or even see what yours is or even try to practice it to even give it a chance. If you see anybody doing it, it's they're fake or they from Africa.
Or they know what they doing. Are you Yoruba?
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
And I
Are you
think, but
Yoruba?
but but see, wait,
Are
can
you
I?
part
But
of
heavy,
the Ifa
heavy and
family?
phase and admiral. But see, phase. This the thing. Everything heavy just said is facts. But guess what? This is the thing. How do people get to the point seeing that? Oh, I should be sovereign to the point where I have no interference from an outside source stopping me from living my best life in accordance to God's law.
Phase is
Yeah, I like
phase is a
phase.
good one. We
Phase
never.
enough of that energy restored, all right, or those configurations coming together restored as memories to say, I know who I used to be, as in who I was before this energy came together in this new body. So the simplest way to explain reincarnation is to deal with the fact that you're talking about different components of a body. All right, I can build a human being. I can take the feet, the largest organ of the body, the skin, form it together. If I get a 3D printer right now, I can print up somebody's lungs. I can print up somebody's heart. You understand? This reality. Go check it out. as long as I have the science enough to do it. And then the most complex organ that they're figuring out even to this day, even though they got it in the bag, they're just not going to really explain it unless they have people finally coming to grips with the quantum technology revolution that comes first, for people to start really understanding what they put in movies like Replica and things like that. They form that brain, and then there's a spark of light that goes through there that charges them. The central nervous system, the peripheral nervous system is charged. The heart gets to pumping the blood in and out. So you start seeing that life can flow into being, and then it can live, and that spark of life is there. So I can build a whole new being. You know, it's not hard to make a whole new being. So everything I just explained is energy expressing itself in one way, shape, form, or fashion. Even when it comes to your neurons, right? Even when it comes to the neurotransmission, it's still energy, electricity. Literally, if you go and research it, you have electricity going through your brain right now. You understand? So there's still evidence of a shock that put things in motion. If somebody's heart goes out, you can still use the defibrillator to pull them back, and there's a shock that pulls them right back into motion, or what you call life. How does electricity yield somebody's life or living state? How does that happen? You understand? So what people is calling, or people are calling reincarnation, could simply be something like, yo, your parents got together, and when two people love each other very much, and now you're here, and you reincarnated, and you used to be your mother and your father in your past life, literally, as in the energetic configuration or composition that was your mother and your father came together, shared a blueprint, and created, or yielded would be the word scientifically, yielded a whole new being. And now you're here reincarnated. And then all you have to do is, if you want to just show somebody, who were you in your past life? I used to be my mother. I used to be my father. If they're confused, it's because of all of the esoterics that were not explained. And people got lost in the Hindu science of reincarnation, or people got lost in even the ancient Egyptian science, that they might say, when people like Tahuti were written in books like Thoth. Okay, this is just what would have been presented, saying that when he went into the halls of Amenti, he left and went looking for another body to reincarnate into. When you say reincarnate, all you saying is get into a car again. And the car is your body, your flesh, you understand, your vessel. So one more thing. When we're looking at that scientifically, let's say you did reincarnate, but when you were 3 years old, you suffered trauma to the head, all right? And your frontal lobe was damaged, and your critical thinking abilities were severed. And now you're not even who you would have been if you did not suffer trauma to the head. Are you still that reincarnated being, or has something altered about your being? And the answer will be something altered about your being. And that alteration caused you to not exactly be who you would have been with that energetic blueprint. Now you've changed. How is that possible, though? As soon as that soul gets into their body, if it used to be Tupac, it should just be Tupac. They're not taking into consideration epigenetics. They're not taking into consideration that you're still going to go through life and take on different things. So you're never really dealing with somebody. You ever watch the movie Brother Bear? Where the soul goes on, it takes on the form of a whole different living being, an animal. You understand? So even now, with that being an animal, it may go through its own generations for the next 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 years before something shifts over in the current again that allows for them to take on the form of a turtle. And they fell back further. So and they keep getting closer, closer, closer. Every lifetime, they get closer and closer to an autozone. And it's going to take another 1 trillion years for them to get an opportunity to be a human again, for them to even be able to process consciously what's happening to them as they pass through these lives. So human beings have a very special experience, as far as what we can attest to, a special experience of even knowing you're alive without having to just deal with life primitively, where you're just fighting to just survive. However, a lot of people just go into that survival state, and they're not dealing with their quote unquote godly self that will be able to build up what I just explained. So all of this is not necessarily explained through Dr. York, but because of the sciences that he exposed me to young, I was led to be able to be familiar with my astral body. I don't question whether or not we have one. I know we have many. You understand? Go ahead.
And that's why I say, everyone doesn't reincarnate. Some people aren't reincarnated beings. And when they transition from this life, it's not always a reincarnation. It's a reanimation, meaning sometimes you're not taking up on flesh. Some people haven't retaken up on flesh. I love to hear other perspectives that come from other people about it, because all of our ancestors have given a mythology, when it pertains to life and then the afterlife. You know, these stories get specific. Some stories are some tend to be a little more vague. But I I I look at my ancestors, past generations, as generators, right? They're not generators of my soul, they're more or less generated, in which my soul functions through. So they play a very relevant part to me. But I realize that I date back just as far as my ancestors, the soul in which I am, you know. So I I love to, like I said, I love to hear other people's perspectives and their cultural beliefs on it, because it just either adds more questions, brings a level of validity, or you know what I'm saying, or is a good place to build upon with someone. But I definitely can understand that perspective.
Hey,
Exactly. Yeah,
Faze, I got a question. Hey,
I
Faze, I
can
got
hear
a
you.
question. You can hear me? Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, we hear you.
Oh, okay. So, my question would be this. So, what would you say is more important right now, right? For people to know their bloodline, or for people to be connected to the etheric realm.
Well, from what I'm taught, they go hand in hand, right? Because your ability to connect to the etheric realm is 100% predicated upon who and what your ancestors were and what they did prior to your forming as a living being here.
Boom.
So if
Okay. Stop right. Wait, hold up. All right. So Sun Ra and Laugh Wave, we got you niggas. Yeah. Hey, this be a heavy.
got you.
Because look, Faye's the only one to answer this question correctly. Out of all, every time we asked them this question, they always said, "Oh, it's the esoteric, or it's your ancient ancestors." But they never said that the both is connected, and to know the recent is to know the distant, which means
Well,
that you
that's what
got to
Dr. York
combine
teaches.
both.
Dr. Malachi York teaches that it's both. And we're not to forget who our ancestors are. And if you don't know who your ancestors are, look at yourself. You can always tell there are certain beings that when people hear voices in their head, a lot of times we're taught those are expressions of heredity, right? Where you're thinking it's a voice, but really it's an urge coming from a chemical imbalance. That may have
Mm.
been, huh? You
No, I
did?
said you correct. I was doing or I was humming.
Oh,
I
okay.
was you preaching to the choir.
Okay, well, that might have been brought about by something that your ancestors did or didn't do. Like, okay, when you decide that you're going to rectify something, right? And what I teach is you wreck and defy it, meaning whatever this aspect of myself, I'm not liking too much of that. It's not seeming that it's productive for me, right? So I'm going to wreck and defy it. I'm going to rectify it. When I do that, I actually alter my genes, and the decision making aspect of my children is increased upon, where they're going to be able to, if that pops up in their life similarly, even if just similar, they'll know, okay, I already know how to deal with this. It'll be what they call second nature, but really it's first nature, that they'll know how to rectify it if it pops up for them. So every time we're making a decision to become more critical thinking beings,
It,
right? More
it passes
responders as
down.
opposed to reactors.
Boom.
Go ahead.
Okay, I said, yeah, you right, because it's passing down. Everything that your people went through is already in you, and the trials and tribulations they went through and didn't conquer, you got the opportunity to conquer it. This is why we say that the future is dependent on the kid. This is why protecting the kids in the culture is the most important, which is why it was always based around the matriarch of the woman is the centerpiece of this. We protecting the woman is in the future, because all beings come through the woman. What you said, how you feel about that? Actually, my question is this though. So when we talking about the etheric side and the bloodline side, we know they're both the same, but coming from a scientific perspective, or let's just say a religious minded perspective. In order, so what route should one take trying to figure out the etheric side? Would you say you start from what's closest to you as far as your grandparents and then go up to etheric, or you start from etheric and come on down? Which path would you say is more conducive to success?
It depends on the being that's going on the journey, family. That's why I'm explaining that we were also taught it's not even a reality of this or that. It's an acceptance of this and that. But one won't happen without the other. You go and explore more about your grandfather and you start having these experiences, it's going to 100% affect your subconscious existence when you start doing that, which means that whether you like it, hate it, can't decide, when you start exploring, and you've been exploring this for a week or two, what your grandfather did, who his nicknames were, or his tribe and all of that, is going to affect your dream state. You understand? It's going to affect
Mhm.
how you express in your everyday life. You're already changing your genes. You're already changing your brain. Literally, your neural pathways are redirecting themselves in accordance to the information that you're taking in about your grandfather. So let's say you take in things about your grandfather and you don't like certain things, but the things you don't like are actually the things that were going to be helpful for you to activate more of your etheric side. Then you shut down whatever genes were necessary to activate that etheric side that would have been able to be drawn from that ancestor. Doesn't mean that from your other million ancestors, you won't still be able to pull something that's helpful. And on the flip side, let's say you just start indulging in the sciences of the esoterics. You start lucid dreaming. You start practicing astral projection. You start going into all these other sciences that are very real. I tested them and touched them, right? And then proving to myself, and other than prove it for anybody else, let's say go through and do it themselves. With my experience, these are very real sciences. You go into this, what winds up happening is whatever genes may have been dormant in you, passed on, that you may not have known that your great great grandfather was a shaman or your great great grandmother was a seer. You might not have known that, but all of the different parts of her brain, her functioning organs, all of that were affected by her doing whatever it was that she did to activate those practices within herself. And it passed on, but might have laid dormant until you went and touched a certain bottle of water and drank from it in an allegorical sense. And now it's active in you because now you not only having your lucid dreams, but the one who is your great great grandmother who was the seer, or your great great grandfather who was able to activate his powers as a shaman, they're appearing to you in a lucid dream state. And now you're able to talk to them and deal with them, and they can show you certain things simply because you activated something that used to belong to them, or they had an opportunity to grab, but they didn't grab it. You understand that? So Nuwapu brings you right here to the center. You can't help it. So it has to be both. It cannot be, oh, I'm going to do something and it doesn't affect my ancestors. We are our ancestors, okay? And in the same sense, we're not our ancestors because we're going to make different decisions than they did, all right? And they make different decisions than we're making. We just have to understand how genetics work. We have to understand how tradition works and culture works, because that's dealing with the environment, okay? If I have a culture, it's going to affect me environmentally. If our culture says we're going to listen to 432 hertz every day at 3 a.m. for 3 hours, that's our culture. Or if our culture says we go to the club every Saturday and get fucked up, that's our culture. Whichever one of the cultures I assimilate into, it will affect my ability to, for one, get in touch with my ancestors, even if it's on the etheric side, all right, and understand who and what they are, or also be able to achieve the same thing for passing it on to my children. I give my children the same culture. It's going to be a culture that stops them from growing, or it's going to be a culture that encourages them to grow. And then you have that last determining factor, the child itself, or themselves they have to decide whether or not they're going to choose left or right, or another option you didn't even know was there, and
So
that has to be
let me ask
respected.
you a question. If you have kids and they grow up and they want to be Blackfoot or whatever tribe and they find out and they go do the history, are you gonna and I'm not even gonna say force, but are you gonna encourage them to do whatever you're studying, and I'm not gonna say disown, but would it be a problem if they go and study and want to be that, and they
I
find
don't.
out on their own?
I have no idea. I have no idea where I will be in that point of my life. That could be tomorrow. You know what I mean? Don't jinx me. But I have no idea what it's going to be like. You know what I mean? If and when I have children, I have no idea. I could be a whole nother being. I could have come across a whole nother science that the world has never heard of. Or I could be a Muslim. Or I could be a snake
I
oil
I got
salesman
a
straight on the
I
side
got
of
a
the road.
different question then for you, Faze. All right, my question is this: so, will you teach your children? Will you teach your children both? And so, would you teach your children that they're Blackfoot and their science is Nuwapic, or would you only teach that their science is Nuwapic?
It is my intention to teach my children to be scientists, physicists, neuroscientists, biologists, right? Expose them to whatever sciences I have the ability to expose them to and encourage them to take those sciences further, including quantum mechanics, all these other things. And no telling what will be here by the time my children get here, if they're coming. And also to teach my children to honor their ancestors in a way of loving them for the simple fact, if nothing else, that they existed for them to be here. If they decide in that they want to be Blackfoot, that's them. I can't even foresee that being negative or positive. That's just what and who and what they will be. However, I would never encourage my children to stop at that. That's not enough to throw a feather on your head. You know what I'm saying?
No,
Explain
I
to
agree.
me
I
how
agree. I agree.
explain if you
But
see an atomic, if you look at an atomic bomb, please explain to me how it's formed and what will happen when these chemical reactions begin. All right. When you're looking at a caterpillar, can you explain to me the inner workings of that being's body? All right. When you're listening to somebody speak around you a certain language, please explain to me what they're saying. That's not your native tongue. If I'm having children, I'm not having children to do what y'all are doing. If Omari brings forth seeds, is why I'm telling you, I cannot put a limit on it. I would be doing everything in my power to yield the most powerful beings who ever touched this planet. It's just what it is. I want them to be so much more powerful than I will be at that point that it will almost seem like you would have no reason to bring me up with those beings being on the planet. You have
now
almost
Faze,
no reason to
Faze.
even mention me with everything they're going to bring to the planet,
So
unless you want to just bring up the fact that I brought them here.
so I agree with you saying. What you're saying is that producing um a better product is better than just claiming to be something that you're not actually um putting effort into.
I'm saying you could
So
do
it's
both. I'm saying you could listen.
right.
You could be Blackfoot on Saturday, and you could be in a scientific lab somewhere on Sunday. You could be a family person on Monday. No, I don't want anybody to be put in some limitation box because I wasn't. I'm saying they could do whatever they want to do. I have the intention of raising them to be powerful
Right.
beings. And I'm not talking about powerful like we watching Dragon Ball Z. Okay. I'm talking about powerful as in what's in their brain
Mm-hmm.
and what they know to do with what's in their brain. I don't want nobody talking about some chakras. I want them to be able to explain to you so much about the organs that are aligned with those soul centers, all right, or those center points. I want them to be able to explain so much about that that it's almost like, why the fuck would you use the word chakra when you could just talk about the actual occurrence and what's happening with it? And I want them developing medicines that can help people that have those. And I want that to be something that they did because they didn't have nothing to do while they were waiting on the train to go do something else. That's who I'm
Yeah,
talking
I
about.
agree. I think science helps life become better. For instance, like when you're looking at the how the pyramids was built and how they kept advancing through civilizations, like building on top. So one thing I agree with you what you're saying though.
Hey, real
Like
quick,
just
excuse me, can you pull me back up? I'm about to come out. My screen froze.
okay.
You
Ain't
know,
nobody
and
want
and
to
and,
be in
and what
that third box heavy.
I know, man.
You-
And what and what
yeah.
and what Paige is saying is so true. And this is what I teach my children.
Mhm.
People want to, you want to claim a certain identity, but if it's truly about your children, it's about which is your fruit. It's about the fruit that you bear.
Mhm.
And you should be able to and an attestation to your knowledge and your wisdom. Should the byproduct of that should be a child that carries a certain level of success and spiritual
And
maturity, right?
intelligence in
You
general.
know,
Yeah, just
yeah,
because these kids nowadays,
say
they my bad, heavy.
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No,
My bad. That's my fault.
no, I was gonna say, yeah, I can say I'm all of this, but if I have a child that knows nothing about it, or if I myself have not produced anything to show what makes this great, like okay, so people can come out here, they can say they're Blackfoot, skinny calf, whatever, short thigh tribe. It don't matter.
Short
But
diatribe.
what does
Bro,
that
don't be
do for
talking
you?
about
What is
midgets
that?
on here, bro.
You know what I'm saying? What does that do for you though? Like what has it garnered you? Has it given you a level of understanding that and changed your ideology? You how the cosmos work, has it caused you to create something new? What has it done? Ultimately, that's what it's about. So this is why when I come on lives, I express to people my culture and what I do and how they saw things, but I love to hear how other people see things too. When we can witness the same phenomena and maybe call it something different, but be aware of how it functions. That's a beautiful thing. Do you know how these cosmos work? Do you know where you are right now? Where are
Right.
you?
I want to know what people are. What nationality are you in your dreams? Like, if before jumping to that answer, think about what I'm really asking. Right. I've known since I was a child. I was passing through here. I can't get attached to none of this stuff, y'all. Listen. I respect your reality. I don't like your reality. You know what I mean? And I wanted to do something about it. Now I can only do something about it as long as I'm here. Except as many times as I've had these experiences where like something like this happened, kind of to the reincarnation subject. I was walking in a grocery store. I was looking at produce and something shoved me, pushed me back here. And I was talking to Dr. Melakazi York's niece, all right, and I brought it up, and she was explaining that she went to go see him, and she was talking to him about something personal that happened to her in that realm. And he was explaining to her that he said, those were your ancestors. They pushed you back here, right? Now, do I know what that is or whether or not that's true? I have no idea. However, it was an explanation because I didn't have one. All I know is something with two hands pushed me and I was back over here in this reality. And I know some of y'all done had the dreams like that. You don't even got to stretch it too spiritual. Just dreams like that when you know this is real. You know this is reality. Something happening that you really want to wake up from, but you don't know is a dream. So you don't even know that's an option. And then when you finally wake up, you're like, yo, that was just a dream. It was too quote unquote real though. That's what it's for me, family. Like, I know it's gonna sound crazy, but I know I'm passing through your reality. For me to be walking around talking about some I'm Blackfoot and I'm this and that and third, that's asinine to me, because I am aware of the different aspects of the self. And once you astral project it, meaning once you, I'm not talking about all that TV stuff floating all in the sky. When you stood up in your body, you're laying down, but you stand up and you're looking down at your body and you walk around your room like, I know I'm not tripping. I just stood up out of my body. And you're feeling the vibrations going through you. There's no way you can get back in your body like, I'm Blackfoot. There's no
Right.
way. Once you travel through these realms and you actually know you're doing it, I'm talking about something as simple as sleep paralysis starts and you do a test, which I used to put water bottles around my body to test it out. I would just reach out and put my hand into the water bottle and I could feel the water. And a lot of people during sleep paralysis, they can't move because they only trying to move their physical body. I moved what was in here and figured out I got fingers for real and I can go through whatever this is and interact with the element that's inside of it. What do I look like coming back and saying I'm Blackfoot? Now, if people around want to claim, that's fine. You know, the conscious community, all they do is claim stuff. I'm
But wait,
used to
hey,
it.
Faith. But wait, Faith,
Go
Faith.
ahead.
Don't Malachi teach that the only time is now, right?
No, the only time is, well, yeah, he taught, yeah, to a degree. Yeah.
No, I'm saying the only time is now. You can't exist outside of the noun, right? There's no
Yeah,
time
I
but
can relate with
now.
you on that.
Huh?
I can level with you on that. Yeah.
Right. Okay. I get what you're saying. Like when you know you're more than just the physical, the identity stuff go out the door because you're no longer just looking at the simple part of life. You're looking at the grander part. I get that, but the reason why I feel like that level of thinking right now is counterproductive is because the war that we're in right now is colonization. Kids are still being colonized to this day, being told that they African when they really from here. The reason why knowing you Blackfoot matters the most right now is because that lets a child know that, oh no, you don't come from Africa, your land is here, which also gives them dignity and pride because when you figure out what your people created over here, you know what I'm saying? That's dignity. That's culture.
Now, what if that
So,
child? What if I got a question? What if that child came from Mars?
well, regardless of what a child came from, you're coming through a bloodline that's indigenous to a certain part of Earth. Knowing that is very important
Right. I'm saying,
because
listen.
of the
Watch
war.
this. They came from Mars, right? What if they got to go back?
Where they go back after they done here.
Oh yeah. When? Who is to say when that is?
What I mean, wait, whenever the time come, the time come. But my point is that what about the time right
That's
now?
what
I'm telling so
that's what I'm getting at.
right.
Because the now that you're speaking about, you heard about the space time continuum,
Yeah.
right? They wanted the same. Now it's just the center. That's what he taught. The center. When you're dealing with time, if you go and look up a video called 16-Year-Old Mason, all right? That was me. That one who was drawn on the drawing board. If you ever see
Yeah, I
it,
know. I know.
drawing the circle around the dot,
Mm-hmm.
that was the explanation at 16 that I was giving people about time. Because I'm experiencing it and I understand what always is, pointing out in every direction. So let's say that person comes through as a child and they actually incarnated here. Can we rule that possibility out? No, we can't. Reincarnation is a science that they don't even want to admit is a science. So we definitely can't rule it out. It's possible that somebody could be just passing through your reality. So what you might think is gravity, what you might think means something to us or to those people, excuse me, it might not mean that type of thing to us. So we respect it. It's like if you go into a third grader's class right now
No, I'm
and
not
you
saying,
see,
but Faith, no, I ain't talking about you. You can feel how you feel about it. That's cool. I'm talking about when it comes to children.
that's what
I'm
I'm
talking
explaining.
about
If you
kids
just give me
learning.
out one, just give me 1 second. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Because I'm one of those children, family, that we're not normal people. It's just what it is. So what seems like a matter of importance to the rest of the world, a lot of times we see it as futile. But we also have to, by default, respect your reality, because if we don't respect it to a certain degree, you will ostracize us completely. Because listen, if I didn't respect what you're saying to a certain degree, we wouldn't have been able to be on this live. I have to respect it. So let's say that child comes here that we're talking about. Let's take me out of it. That child is here. That child may not be from here. That child may be from a whole different reality coming through here to do a job. That child could not actually be a child. It could be a man sitting on a ship somewhere, channeling into this reality, and they're here to do a job. It's not of a matter of importance for them in that time to know, oh, you're Blackfoot, and for that to become their reality. It's a matter of importance to understand that a part of the reality that they're joining in on cares about that type of shit.
Oh,
That person
okay.
is here to
Okay.
do
So
a.
let me ask you this
Go ahead.
question. Let me ask this question.
Uh-huh.
So let's take Ethereum beings, right? Do Ethereum beings have a culture?
I, I don't know. I haven't talked to them. You got to let me know when. Like
Okay.
when I
Let me
speak
ask
to them,
you
I'll let you
this.
know.
So what type of being are you?
I'm living.
And I'm saying what type?
I'm alive.
Okay. So are you just passing through?
Yes. Are you?
Okay. So if you are a soul that's just passing through, then that means that you're not the first one. So that means there's many of you, right,
Right.
that exist
Right.
that's just passing through. So which means that y'all are in a category of certain types of beings that occupies a certain mission or whatever of doing it. So let's just say you got thousands of you that's just passing through, right? So that would mean that your mission is to just pass through. It means that you have a culture,
Well, I'm
right?
not understanding how that would mean that I have a culture. I understand what you
Culture
mean
is
about the
because what you culture is habitual behavior, right? Your
no,
habitual behavior become your culture. Yes or no?
no.
So okay, let me ask you this then. So if you're just
Mhm.
passing through, then that
Right.
would means that if you know that you're just passing through, then that means that you know that that's your mission to just pass through,
I don't know
right?
why you keep putting this just word there. Every time you say it, it's like, no, it's not that
I
it's
mean, that's what
just
you said.
passing
You
through.
said no. I'm just going off what you said.
Okay, so then no, we had to correct that. I'm not saying just pass through because that won't be the point of having a mission if you're just passing through, unless your mission was just to pass through. No, I'm
Okay, so
not
let me
just
ask you
passing through.
what.
I'm doing what everybody else is doing. I'm experiencing this life as a living being, doing what it is that I can do. And a
Okay,
part of my being
so
here,
what?
go
So
ahead.
what's your purpose? What would be your purpose?
A part of my being here is figuring that out. Because
Okay, so if you
when I
figuring
was
out,
a
then
when
why
I
would
was
you
a
say you just? Okay, so if you're figuring out, why would you say you just passing through then?
because it's from the knowing of my experiences in this lifetime, like being able to experience another body, knowing that I'm going in different worlds. I've been in different worlds, being able to astral project. I know I'm not bound here, meaning this I'm not
No,
tied
that,
to this reality.
okay,
That's what I mean by passing through. Like I know I'm not tied to
okay,
this
we know.
reality.
Okay, we know you're not bound here, but get okay. For
Mhm.
instance, I'm not bound to third grade, right?
Copy.
But I do what I have to do in third grade to
To
get
get
to the
out of it.
fourth grade. Exactly. So, which means this, right? So, if you're saying you're passing through, but while you here, you don't know your mission because you're still figuring it out. Wouldn't you say that your mission
Mhm.
is to do what your is to accomplish a better future for what is to come after you leave?
Yeah, I was
Yes or no?
say that's well, I could say that right now. My mission could very well be to destroy your world. You understand that? Like when I turned 27, something could be activated in me, and I was here to kill all of y'all.
I
You,
swear
you
he
understand that?
is.
So I know we like to paint it a certain way, but you have to really understand who you're talking to. If I knew everything, why would I be talking to y'all? Yeah, I would just be
No,
doing
but no,
exactly what
but
a
phase,
part of
phase.
my
What I'm
being
okay,
here
phase, but
is
phase. You
figuring it
kind of,
out. Yeah, go
but
ahead.
phase. You kind of talking in circles just a little bit, bro. Because what? Okay, because this is what I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to figure out that if you know who you are as a soul, right, and you are passing through here, you're not bound here. That's totally fine. Nobody's bound here because we all go.
Shit.
That's no, I'm meaning like you mean what I'm saying. I get what you mean. You got some souls that can't leave.
Yeah,
So I
it's sad.
because
It's a
I get
sad
everything
reality.
you're talking about because I studied that stuff. I
Oh,
studied it
see,
too.
that's
The
the
reason,
difference. That's the difference. I didn't. They showed me this type of stuff. They showed me hell.
yeah,
That's my experience.
no, I don't want to go there. I'm just saying like as far as like understanding your higher being. I understand my higher being. I just don't talk about it. But what I'm saying is this. So if you're passing through, right? Passing through would be a mission. So if you come here on Earth, you said you don't know your purpose yet. So if a person that don't know their purpose, would you say that um your you will be better off understanding that your purpose lies in the bloodline of your people? Meaning this, right? If we know right now what we're going through, right now, the current mission, right, of America has been colonized, people are being told there's something that they're not. Um, People are
Will you bring
suffering
me
from
up one more
identity
time, fella?
crisis and things like that, right?
Will you bring me
So,
up one more time? I ain't leaving. Will you bring me up one more
okay,
time? My bad.
okay. He said,
Okay, so it goes beyond you just passing through. You're doing more than just passing through. You're permeating through.
no,
You're
I
permeating
get
through.
what he's saying, but I'm trying to understand what's his like because if we because this is the thing, everybody has a everybody that's born on earth has a purpose. You either here to destroy or you either here to build.
Or both.
Right, true.
Or you can
But
or you can be you can live void of a purpose.
That's a fact.
You you
So
can
even
you can many
go ahead.
people opt out of their purpose and they walk in darkness. You know, so when we say purpose, there are different levels to purpose, and I talk about this all the time, right? But most people just these talks. I want you to stay where you are with phase. I don't want to go into a different space real quick.
You
Go
able to
ahead,
build,
Yeah,
continue.
we
Tim?
can.
You can
I'm
build.
gonna finish
You
this
can
the few questions, then you can take it to a different space. So, Phase, this my question. So okay, so if you say that, understanding you black for all that, that don't mean nothing to you because you just passing through. You're not bound here. So that means that you feel like Blackfoot is something that bounds you. Do you think that knowing your indigenous culture in America bounds you to Earth?
I think it. I think it means a lot to you because I've answered this pretty much the whole life. And what I said, the reason why I say I respect your reality is because this is where you're centered, and it means a lot to you. Now I'm gonna say it one more time because if you remember about 2-3 hours ago, I said I don't give a fuck about any of that shit. That's me. I can't even get the "that's me" out when somebody wanted to take a American Indian sword out, and cut my head off for some reason. Then why? What if I don't
No,
want
it's
to
only
be
because
American Indian?
no, it's you know why? It's because you said you Blackfoot,
So
but you basically saying that don't matter to you.
no, I
But
didn't say
okay,
that's the point. I didn't say I'm Blackfoot. I said I have ancestors who were Blackfoot. I got
so that
Blackfoot
means
in
you
my family
Blackfoot
was
too.
the
You are
verbatim
who
what I
your
said.
ancestors are, Fade.
No, listen, no, I have ancestors who were murderers.
No, I'm not. We're not talking about things that you do.
Yes, you
Blackfoot
are.
is the
Blackfoot
nation
is
that you
something that you
tied to
do.
through
You
your
just talked about it.
bloodline.
Even with what you thought was the culture, you thought it meant that you're doing something habitually, which isn't really a culture. That's a habit or routine. It can affect your culture if enough people do it, but that's not what the culture is.
No,
Culture
I
comes in.
said that because earlier you said that your habits can become your culture. You literally said that. You said if I go to the club and want to pop bottles every day, that's culture. That's
Right,
what you said.
exactly. That's what I'm saying. It can affect it, right? But no, it's not that's in stone. This is what the culture is. One of the reasons why Ye come out and say fuck the culture, because that what you call in black culture is not actually a culture.
Right. Okay. Right.
It's something that's an
Exactly.
assimilation of a whole
So
bunch of
where
different
would
habits.
your real culture lie in? So where would your real culture lie in? What would one's culture in America truly lie in?
The real culture would tell the truth in the center of what it is those people are doing, what they're wearing, what their language is, what their customs, as far as their food, all of that, what that is. That's a culture. You can Google that.
Right.
But just going to
I
the
I,
club
I
is
agree.
something that
Okay.
you're doing that affects the culture and is being passed on as if it is a culture. But it is not a culture to just go to the club. That's something you're
Right.
doing
I
habitually.
agree with that. I agree. So would you say that so let's just say true culture, a person's true culture is a part of their identity? Yes or no?
Here,
Yeah,
yes.
in America
No, I
or
mean just
anywhere.
listen, here
Is
go
a
my real answer is no, no. They can assume it as a part of their identity. You can
so
be
what
a new.
would be
Listen,
okay, that's okay, cool. So what is one's true identity then?
Oh, good questions.
there you
So,
go. There goes the answer I was attempting to give earlier when you took me saying I'm figuring out my purpose to mean that I didn't know what it was. That's why I said when I was in third grade I had a purpose. When I was in fifth grade I had a purpose. You know what I mean? When you were a toddler, you had a purpose. When you were just born, your purpose was to drink milk. That was your purpose. Everything that we speaking on as that central now, where you say living in the now, that
Hmm.
now is ever changing. That now is ever turning. I am Omari right now, and watch this. I'm not the same Omari as I was a few seconds ago. So figuring out a purpose means that I could have been here to help. Look, they telling my story. Man, he was such an amazing person. You know, he was helping people. He was building them up. He got all these people to the boat. He did all these things. He saved babies from the fires. He was. You should have seen him go. He was helping little cubs, little bear cubs. He helped them too. Everybody got on the boat. And then there's this word, but. Now, if you didn't get to that but, you would have told my story like I was this amazing person per your perspective. But for everybody who didn't listen with him, walk with him, this nigga dropped a bomb and killed 400 million people. That would have been that person's story. And your purpose while you walking with me, so you have such a great purpose. And I'm like, you have no idea. And it's like we friends. You tell my purpose. Yo, what's your purpose? My purpose is to help everybody get on the boat. And then you get to the second part of it. You say, the purpose is to also blow up 400 million. I'm just giving a hypothetical. That purpose
Right.
shifts every second. My purpose right now is to talk with y'all. You know what I mean? And that's why I say figuring it out, because I cannot say, even when I had my experiences with extraterrestrial beings, people ask me, what were their names? I didn't know. They didn't tell me that. Where they came from? I don't know. They didn't tell me that.
Right.
You know what I mean? But if they
Okay,
would have
okay,
told me,
okay.
I would
So
have had an answer for them.
phase.
Go
Okay,
ahead.
this would be my question then. Okay, so you an emotional person?
Yeah,
We
Okay,
all
so
are.
okay, cool. So is your emotions ever changing?
yeah,
Do your emotions ever changing affect the nature of your soul?
yeah.
Okay, now my question is this: can you remain the same while going through different emotions?
No,
So you can't remain the same going through different emotions?
no.
Yep.
Well, you don't remember. Okay, so let me help you. Well, not help you. I didn't mean to say it like that.
No, no,
Let me
no,
walk
it's
with
cool.
you, right? I really didn't mean to be. I'm not trying to be disrespectful with that. Let me walk with you on that. Like I just explained about not being the same person I was seconds after I made the statement of who I was in that moment. Right now, Ethereal, there are about 100 billion of your cells that are dying, and there are another 100 billion that just came to life when I took that pause. You're not the same being that you were when you asked me that question. So if you experience an emotion, if you really in tune, now pay attention, because now that I'm telling you, you're not going to be able to unknow it after you pay attention to it and it becomes knowledge. When you get upset, you shapeshift, right? Look at Heavy face right now. I'm only saying that because Heavy is in the camera, right? If Heavy frown, like frown real quick, please. Heavy, would you please frown real quick? He just shapeshifted, right? Some people get upset, their face turns red. Some people get upset, they have a bone in the middle of their forehead. It shows their reptilian side. It enlarges. You understand? You ever see somebody get so mad they have literally a bone that pops out and a vein, and you're like, where did this shit eat? They're shape shifting. And if you get them angry enough, they'll bite your head off, because that's in their ancestry. They might have had a Tyrannosaurus Rex in their ancestry. And when those beings get upset or angry, they destroy shit. You understand what I'm explaining? So when
So
you get
okay,
upset, you
so basically,
literally
So wait,
transform. When
but
you get
so
happy,
let
you
me
so are
take
you
it
transform.
after
telling
this,
me that you
Ethereal. I
can't?
want to say something.
So are you telling me that you can't remain content even through emotions?
No, but see,
Well,
here's the
okay.
thing. Contention is an emotion, right? That's an emotion that you feel. It's a part of an emotional state. And they're called states for a reason, because they constitute states of being. Many people identify themselves with the emotion. Like they say, I am mad, I am sad. No, you're not. You're
Mm-hmm.
experienced mad. No one has copyright, trademark to any of these emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And I oftentimes talk about emotions. These were the creative energies that were used to bring physical reality into existence.
Mm. So heavy.
Joy,
So
anguish, all of these things. So when you're
so
talking about ID, hold on, and then I'm gonna end right here in 30 seconds. And when you're talking about ID, identification, that's just one aspect of self, right? Being able to
right.
identify self. But you know what that's due to? Real ID is intelligent design. There's an intelligent design to you, right? And that's based on an intellect. That's based off of an intellect, a mind,
Right.
a
Yeah.
mind that had
Now
intention,
I
right?
understand everything
So
y'all saying. Okay. So let me ask you this. So what is the natural state of a human without emotions?
okay, so that's okay. So the natural state of a human
What
does
no.
not exist
Right.
without the expression of emotion. It doesn't. That's the natural state. The natural state is to facilitate emotions. That's the natural state. There is no state without that. The
Okay, so
emotions
would
help
you
put
say
you.
okay?
The
So
emotions help put you in the state. They're your feelings for a reason because they field the energy.
right.
They're fielding the energy. So that is the natural state. There is no natural state without emotion
Okay,
attached
cool,
to it.
perfect. So with that being said, so would you say that a human being's purpose is to experience the energy of life or the energy
Well,
of existence?
okay. Well, no, it's not just to feel it or to feel it because you can feel it without taking on physicality. Like Faze
No, but
gave
I'm
you the
talking about
story
human
of him
purpose. So
actually
no,
being outside of his body and still being able to
yeah,
feel.
yeah. No, I
You see
want to
what
talk about. I'm just talking about human purpose, right? Let's think about human. So, what's the purpose of human existence on Earth?
As a here's what I can say, if I might.
Hmm.
I can't say what the when you put that article there, it really does alter what can be expressed if somebody accepts it. I'm not able to
Hmm.
accept the because I don't have that answer for the. I can say what a purpose of human beings are or is, and it's just what every other living organism's purpose would be to survive.
Oh, perfect. Boom. Thank you, Phase. We got there. We walked it down, but we got there. Because this that was a perfect. That was perfect. So if our look, so if our purpose is to survive, because that's the law of nature, right? And the laws of nature governs the human existence. So if our purpose is to survive, wouldn't you say that your survival lies in your indigenous culture or whatever land that you exist on?
No, because I can literally be alive on water and survive for generations. Has nothing to
So,
do with, has nothing to do with the land. Listen, y'all tie is to the land. It's like one element. If you don't know,
no, that
it's
ain't
like
what I'm saying.
one
Okay, let
Eretz
me
is
substantiate it
one
more.
aspect of the planet Earth. Has is not just land here. There's also water. So if you ask him, the answer to that would be people can live on water. People can live underwater with no land. So no, it's
Okay,
not the
now
land.
I
It's
let me ask
go ahead.
Heavy there. Okay, Heavy. All right, so look, Heavy. You um what nation, what Indian nation you tied to again, or native? What, I know you like to use the native word.
Okay.
Choctaw,
Choctaw
right?
and Tunica. Oh, yeah. But
Tunica
I'm a
Choctaw.
cart.
Okay, cool.
But
Now
my
let me ask.
identification is Battle Choctaw. Yeah.
Okay, Choctaw. Okay, let's say Choctaw. Now check this out, right? Now with your culture, right?
Mhm.
Would you have been able to know how to utilize the things that was around you in your life growing up without knowing the culture of the Choctaw?
Um, um, no, it gives me certain things, but there were certain things that aren't historically tied to my culture. Computers aren't historically tied to my culture. Cell phones aren't historically tied to my culture. The way we live the modern day life is typically not tied to the way my ancestors did it. So many things of my that I'm learning is I'm having a new experience, having a cultural background of such, but having an experience that allows
Right.
me to see newness that my ancestors weren't privy to. That allows me to have an experience that they weren't privy to.
Okay, cool.
So mine is
So
a new
that
one,
means
you know?
that you took what they taught you and you building on it, right? You're
Right,
making it either better or more accessible, right? Or both.
right.
Okay, so with that being said, so you would say that what would you say your purpose? So would you say your purpose as a man is also tied to your purpose as a Choctaw? Is that one and the same or is that separate?
No, I don't think that that's my purpose. You know, I think that that's the culture that I was facilitated in, and I
Hmm.
express certain things through that through that culture. You know, I think when people think of purpose, they just think of one thing. Purpose is multifaceted, and you were given many different aspects of self. You know, that have to function a certain way. So there are aspects of you that that help you understand your sentience. You know, you're sapient, right? Your things that you use for survival, things that help you identify you. You know, and all of these things have to function in a particular way. Some are used for survival, some are used for understanding, some are used for communication with others. You know, and all this. So you can't, when you say purpose, you know that's a multifaceted thing. But there's also something called your primary purpose. You know, your primary purpose can lead to other you being purposeful in other ways as well too, but you still have a primary purpose which is based off of your primary functions, right? So when you have the purpose talk, it can't just be so it can't just be so white and black. You know, you have to be able to see the fluidity of existence. Like Faze was saying, his purpose today was to be on this live. You know, overall purpose could deal with teaching, you know, but it's not limited to that. You know, there are multiple purposes, you know, just like we're multifaceted. So to ask that question, it could extend into so much more. There's not just this one thing. You know, if you're living, you are going to experience. That's just the nature of life. Living causes you to experience. But is life just about experiencing? No, there's more to it than that. It's multifaceted, you know, and that's why it's incumbent upon us to allow